Hello everybody, it's Lucas at Frugal Landlord. I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and get the valves done on this Geo Metro. So anyway, I've taken the head off. That was quite easy to do. You know, 8 head bolts. It was only a couple bolts to take the valve cover off. Got that little valve cover here. I took the timing belt back off, brand new timing belt. What I was gonna say was, it's pretty much all self-explanatory taking it apart. The only thing that wasn't just like untightening the bolts was this bolt right here on the, well, two things. On the distributor, you actually have to take the distributor part out of here before you can get to this bolt that's underneath. So like this bolt is underneath the distributor, to take that off the head. So you have to take that off. But the other thing is this bolt right here, the bottom middle bolt on the, well actually these two bolts on the intake manifold. The only way I could figure out how to get those out is to take the starter out. And also the pipe that feeds the water pump. There's a steel pipe, this steel pipe that feeds from the water pump to the bottom of the radiator. I believe it's the bottom. Anyway, I took that off, and there's only there's 2 bolts holding that on. One is underneath the intake manifold. The other one is on the transmission, on the end of the transmission. One of the transmission cap bolts is on the end to hold that. That end cap bolt is right there. And then the other bolt is on the block, I think, right here. The block, right. It goes on somewhere in here. Yeah, somewhere in there. Anyway, to get those, the starter, get it out of the way, and then get that tube out of the way, then you can get a ratchet back there fairly easily to get these 2 bolts off. Everything else was completely simple. Like, you didn't even have to think about it. But obviously you want to you want to set it up for timing before you take it off. But that actually doesn't matter because you can retime it. You can reset it top dead center. Anyway, I just put some tissue paper in there to keep it clean. So anyway, I got the head done. Okay. So one of the exhaust valves, well, 2 of the exhaust valves end up being burned, but this one you can really see. If I get it in the camera here. Right there. You see how it's not even round? You can definitely see a difference between a regular valve seat, like that, which was probably sealing fine. One that definitely wasn't sealing fine. So anyway, it had 2 burnt valves. Yeah, you can see that one too. Got 2 here. 1 and 2. 2 you can see. So I had 2 burnt exhaust valves. And this is how he gave it back to me. So all I have to, what happened was he resurfaced it, put new valves in it, which I had ordered, and new stem seals. He said the valve guides were fine. So I'm just gonna put it back together, and then we're gonna do a compression test. I'm not gonna show all putting it back together. I mean, it's really easy. It was the simplest head that I ever worked on. Only took me a little while. I'll bet you I can put it back together in like an hour. Maybe a little bit longer than that, but. Alright, so there's the new valves inside resurfaced head. I think we're ready to put it back on. He pressure tested it and cleaned it up. Okay, I'm about an hour and a half in. As you can see, I've got the head back on. I've got the exhaust manifold back on, intake manifold back on, and valve cover back on. That's about all I've done. Well, distributor back on. That's about all I've done, and that's about an hour and a half. I said a ratchet would fit back there. I ended up using just a open-end box end wrench, and I was able to get it back there. And if I used a ratchet before, it must have been with an extension and one of those those universal joints. I just used a box end this time. The only thing I used a torque wrench on was the head bolts, and I torqued those to 54 pounds. And right now, I'm just gonna put the timing belt back on. That and the head bolts, I think, are about the only critical thing that I worry about. Top dead center on number 1. And after that, you line up the timing marks. This timing, where is it? There, that timing mark right there on the bottom lines up with this, and that gets the valves in the right spot. Then you can put your timing belt on. There's also a mark on the bottom to get top dead center on the, after you get top dead center, then you put the mark, line it up with that. And after you get those two gears in the right spot, then you can put your timing belt on. So it's pretty easy. I probably got another hour and I'll be able to start this thing, I'm guessing. Alright everybody, I just put the air cleaner back on, and that's the last thing I had to do. That's the intake air temperature sensor. And then that's about the only sensor I unplugged, really. Basically the only thing I really did was had to take the intake and exhaust off, and the timing belt and the distributor. Oh, I gotta tighten that up and I'm just gonna start. Somebody else before me had made little marks, and that's where it was, so I'm gonna put them back on that mark and time it from there. So yeah, that'd be for the spark timing. All right, everybody, we're gonna try to start it. This is gonna be the very first start. So I guess I gotta put the battery cable back on. Okay, here we go. I actually hear a little bit of a lifter tick that I didn't hear before. Hopefully that'll go away. Okay, so I'm fine-tuning the timing. Compression test is good dry. I'm not going to do the wet test just because I don't think there's a need for it. Okay, I'm going to do cylinder 1, dry. Uh, 135. Cylinder 2, dry. Uh, 140. So yeah, that was this cylinder was my problem before. Cylinder 3, dry. It's right about 150. We're fairly even. Well, a lot better than what we were before. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm gonna put the spark plugs in and see how it drives. And this is a great car to get or have if you like to work on your own cars. This car is actually pretty satisfying to work on because it's so simple and you have so much space. Even though it's a small car, you never have to get your hands, like all the bolts are right there. You don't have to squeeze in there and get it. It's not bad to work on at all. And out of all the cars that I had, that I've got right now in trucks, this was the easiest one to put the toilet paper filter on because there's enough room. I think my Chevy pickup will be not too bad, but it'll still be a little bit harder than this. Alright, so after the test drive, it drives really good, a lot better than what it did before. Even better than when I first got the car. I know the compression's not at 150, but it's close. And it's a lot more even than what it was, so it's running smooth. Parts are really cheap for this car. I think I spent 40 or 45 for the valves. And I spent less than 20 on the head gasket with all the gaskets, like the camshaft seal and all the gaskets that you would need for the head. It come with all of that for 20 bucks. Then I was 225, I think, for the work. I'm less than $300 just for the valve job. So yeah, back when I was in high school and right out of high school, I used to do this kind of stuff all the time. I didn't have a lot of money, so your car blows a head gasket or timing belt goes. Sometimes it's the interference engine. If you're lucky, they'll just bend a valve. If you're just idling it and the timing belt goes, you might bend some valves. If you're going down a freeway and a timing belt goes and you got an interference engine, you're probably gonna need pistons too. Yeah, blown head gaskets, gotta take the valve off. Might as well go get it pressure tested or vacuum tested, magnafluxed if it's an iron head. I've been through it before, so I know. This car right here is the easiest car I've ever worked on. Taking the head off is a cinch, and the parts are cheap. So I'll bet you I'll be getting closer to 50 miles per gallon now, but I'll let you know about that. We'll get back to mobile home stuff eventually. I throw some of these videos in because being frugal and saving money on your car repairs or even yeah, and driving this inexpensive car and saving money. That's how I've got into real estate without being wealthy, you know. I haven't had a job that makes tons of money, so you gotta kind of pinch where you can. Do that long enough, save your money. You'll be able to save enough money for a house or real estate. Real estate's a good way to hold your money. It's been good for me. I wouldn't personally invest in real estate if I wasn't getting cash flow, or at least close to cash flowing. You know, even if you're close, I'd say it's worth it because over time you're able to raise rents. Then suddenly you're cash flowing. So driving an old cheap car that's easy to work on, for me, has been the way. Part of my channel is being frugal. Unless you're making tons of money, I'd say anybody could do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. But once you start cash flowing on one property, then it's a little easier to keep the ball rolling. So anyway, that's what this video is all about. Plus, it's kind of satisfying to turn your own wrench to fix something, whether it's a car or a house. As soon as you get into it, you'll figure it out. I better quit rambling. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like and subscribe.